You're listening to an African Elements top news story for April 7th, 2025. Please visit our website at africanelements.org for more daily news. Hands-off protests, Trump policies, and Musk cuts. 2025. Recent weeks saw a massive wave of protests sweep across the United States and even internationally. Over 1.4 million people took to the streets in a coordinated effort against the Trump administration's policies. This marks one of the largest demonstrations seen in years, showing deep public concern. The scale of these demonstrations was truly nationwide. Protesters gathered in all 50 states, holding events at more than 1,200 different locations. Major cities like New York, Los Angeles, and Washington, D.C. saw huge crowds, with up to 100,000 people assembling in the nation's capital. Importantly, the discontent wasn't limited to large urban centers. Smaller cities also experienced significant turnout. For instance, Davenport, Iowa, witnessed its largest protests since 2020. Solidarity wasn't confined by borders either. International protests popped up in the UK, Germany, France, and Portugal, condemning the actions of the Trump administration and figures like Elon Musk. This global response underscores the widespread impact of these policies. A major focus of the protests involved deep budget cuts proposed under Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency. Demonstrators voiced strong opposition to federal employee layoffs and the closure of Social Security offices. For many communities, especially Black families who often rely more heavily on these federal programs and employment opportunities, such cuts represent a direct threat to economic stability. Furthermore, cuts to health program funding sparked significant concern. Reductions in protections for transgender individuals also fueled the demonstrations. Protesters also challenged harsh immigration crackdowns, including mass deportations and denying benefits to immigrants. The administration claimed these measures were about protecting seniors, a justification demonstrators rejected. These policies collectively paint a picture of an administration targeting vulnerable populations. The protests drew a diverse coalition of participants. In Detroit, for example, auto workers, educators, and healthcare workers marched together, with over 10,000 people taking part. This strong showing from labor sectors highlights the economic anxieties fueling the discontent. Working families, many within the Black community, feel the direct impact of policies affecting jobs and public services. Additionally, students and young people were a visible force. They emphasized threats to academic freedom and free speech, pointing to concerns over AI surveillance programs like the alleged Catch and Revoke initiative. Protesters also explicitly condemned U.S. support for the ongoing war in Gaza. International demonstrators in cities like Berlin and Paris framed their participation within broader anti-fascist struggles, connecting U.S. domestic policies to global concerns. Some critics, including sources covering the protests, labeled the administration's direction as moving towards a fascist dictatorship. This strong language stems from specific actions and rhetoric. For instance, Trump's comparison of undocumented immigrants to poison, that is, polluting the blood of the U.S., directly echoes historical Nazi racial purity propaganda. His rally rhetoric often dehumanizes migrants, calling them predators and vile animals, which critics argue justifies violence against them. This kind of language carries heavy historical weight, particularly for Black communities familiar with dehumanization tactics used to justify oppression. Moreover, scholars point to other warning signs. Academics argue Trump exhibits elements of fascist ideology, such as manufacturing crises without factual basis and glorifying political violence, like praising January 6th rioters. The administration's past family separation policy led to conditions historian Andrea Pitzer compared to concentration camps. Concerns persist about plans for expanded mass detentions should Trump gain a second term. These authoritarian tendencies raise alarms about democratic norms and basic human rights. In response to the widespread protests, the White House issued a statement. It claimed the administration was actually working to protect Social Security and Medicaid. Curiously, it simultaneously accused Democrats of threatening these very programs by supporting immigrants. This framing attempts to deflect criticism and shift blame, directly contradicting the protesters' stated reasons for mobilizing, namely, the administration's own proposed cuts and policies. Meanwhile, other political groups offered their analysis. The Socialist Equality Party interpreted the situation as evidence of systemic failures under capitalism. They argued that Trump's policies create the conditions for a working-class movement pushing for socialism. This highlights the differing ideological lenses through which the political moment is being viewed and contested. The massive demonstrations across the country and globally send a clear message of opposition. Millions are concerned about budget cuts impacting essential services like Social Security, rollbacks of rights, harsh immigration policies, U.S. foreign policy, and attacks on free speech. The sheer scale and diversity of these protests signal deep unease with the current administration's direction, fueled by both specific policies and alarming rhetoric echoing dark historical precedents. Copyright African Elements.